planning applications and the interface between planning applications and highway matters. When a developer is making an application for planning permission, if the site is of any real size, then the local planning authority will probably be looking for a planning statement. And a planning statement will deal with the way in which vehicles access and egress the site, impacts on the local road network and things of that nature, in order to assess whether or not the proposed development is acceptable in highway terms or not, as the case may be. And one of the factors which will be taken into account in that assessment is the NPF, the NPPF. So, because there are statements in there, and I think it's paragraph 108 off the top of my head, albeit it might have changed, but there is advice in there as to when a proposal is acceptable or not, as the case may be. If the development is a large one, a major development, then the developer will normally be asked to supply a transport assessment. A transport assessment is a transport statement, but it also includes elements dealing with sustainable transport. I'll get onto travel plans in just a moment, but it's necessary in a transport assessment. It is necessary to look at sustainability, sustainable transport. So it runs much wider than a transport statement. Advice on both of these can be found on the National Planning Practice Guidance website, which is published online by the government. Travel plans, I'll mention those later on, but a travel plan is has to do with demonstrating that a development is sustainable in travel terms, and one would normally find a transport assessment outlining the character of the anticipated travel plan, which goes with the scheme. Then, with really big developments where environmental impact assessments are required, then effectively there will be a chapter on transport, and effectively it will be an amalgamation of the three above: transport statement, transport assessment, travel plan. So they should be all drawn into an environmental impact assessment. And hopefully, when an application gets to committee, members will then have sufficient information in front of them in relation to the particular nature and size of the development to satisfy themselves that the development is suitable in highway terms. So that's the first step. The next step is, well, members will say, officers might say, well, there are certain things that need to be bolted down as a result of these promises and documents and this exposition of constraints. Well, of course, the way to do that in the planning context is to look at planning conditions and Section 106 agreements. So